Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Trump getting rid of FEMA. Trump went on a broad tour of the country and toured disaster aftermath areas. His takeaway from the trip was unique. He seems to be leaning into the idea of doing away with the nation's emergency management agency. He said, quote, "I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe even getting rid of FEMA." He also said, quote, "Let the state take care of the tornadoes and hurricanes and all of the other things that happen." In the best case, Trump still plans to have the federal government disperse funding to state agencies, who will then handle the recovery effort. So, the best case scenario from this move would be tasking an agency in each state or territory to handle the mission currently being fulfilled by one. That creates redundant overhead and makes the cost rise. It also creates different standards in each jurisdiction. It's worth remembering that disasters do not care about state lines, and many disasters would impact multiple jurisdictions at one time. Poorer red states would inherently have a worse response because of a lack of resources that have been provided by the federal government for decades. It's important to remember that despite the rhetoric, FEMA functions more like an accountant than a boots-on-the-ground emergency responder. Many of the failures in disaster relief get blamed on FEMA, but are actually the result of the state agency not being well positioned to deal with disaster and unrealistic expectations of what relief and recovery looks like. There aren't many states well positioned for this kind of transfer of responsibility, and only one of them is a red state. It's only well positioned because it constantly has to deal with hurricanes, so its agencies are well practiced. The worst case scenario is that he doesn't plan on continuing recovery funding assistance from the federal government. That seems unlikely, even for Trump. But if that occurs, Americans will basically be on their own in the aftermath of a disaster. We have a lot of videos on the channel that are focused on emergency preparedness, but most are focused on the short term. In the absence of unified federal response, it'll be wise to prepare for interruption in service post-disaster for longer periods of time. We'll start getting some videos out, including some of those skills and how to prepare. We can hope this is all just rhetoric, or Trump rambling about something he doesn't really mean. But his use of terminology about giving it to the states has typically been an indication that he's serious. It gives him a way to cut federal programs or curtail people's rights while saying he didn't do it, the states did. I would behave as though he was serious about this one. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.